So Tank Davis dispatches of Hector Luis Garcia after 8 rounds of action. Garcia retired on his stool going into the 9th round. I've just watched this fight, I've got some notes here, so let's talk about it. Um, as I say, it went 8 rounds, so I predicted that Tank would probably get the victory by a stoppage in 3 or 4. So we're a little bit off, but I feel like the pattern of the fight pretty much fit the pattern I predicted it would fall into in my pre-fight video. If you didn't see that, you can check it out to make sure I'm not capping. So anyway, round 1. I felt that Garcia was, started well, started strong. He looked very relaxed and there was some good feinting from him. And he was doing a good job of keeping the shorter man in Tank Davis at long range, but also keeping him thinking. It wasn't just a matter of, okay, Tank's at long range, and every now and then just be able to leap in with a wild shot. That wasn't the case. He was at long range and he was keeping him thinking. So I gave the first round to Garcia. I did keep a scorecard, but it was really irrelevant in the end. But just to give you my kind of thoughts on each round. Round 2 was a better round from Tank. He seemed to have loosened up. He was maybe just a little bit tense. I don't want to go as far as saying that he was anxious, but I think he just needed to warm into the fight. And we started to see that in round 2. Loosened up a little bit and was starting to connect. Not with anything of note, but you could just see he was just able to start getting his hands on Garcia. And I felt like this is where the hand placement of Garcia, which I described in my pre-fight video as one of his key weaknesses, I felt like this is where it began to show some holes because he was just getting timed with kind of meaningless shots. When I say meaningless, they were shots that Tank was just throwing out there just to really time Garcia. Because Garcia's his hand placement it's not always appropriate. He keeps his hands around chest level. He'd be moving his head and he'd just move into one of those shots. So I gave that round to Tank. Round 3 was a close round. I wouldn't be surprised if people had it even. I found it very difficult to split the two guys. Clean shots were landed by both, particularly the left hand. For my money, Tank was just a bit more accurate, so I gave him that one. Round 4 was a much better round from Tank Davis. This was the part where he really was in the fight now because he was making use of an active guard. He was using that to get much closer to Garcia. And there was even one point where he clearly steadied him with a left hand over the top, probably in the last 30 seconds of the round, if memory serves me correctly. And yeah, it buzzed Garcia. I'm not going to go and say it hurt him, but it certainly buzzed him, certainly got his attention and just stiffened him up a little bit, woke him up. And at this point, I'm thinking, oh, that's it. My prediction's in the bag, Tank by a 4th-round stoppage. But Garcia was able to see out the round. But it was very much a Tank Davis round. Round 5, Tank by this point is just pretty much in control of the fight. And he is pretty much going all his own way. He's just falling short of landing that money punch and really connecting with some good weight and some good leverage. Round 6 was more of the same. Garcia, to his credit, is still a moving target, though. This was a very pedestrian pace, I want to say, so neither guy is really expending a lot of energy, and neither guy is really shipping that much punishment. And so Garcia is still a moving target, but Tank's still in control. Round 7 was a better round from Garcia. Not landing much, but I felt like he was making Tank miss quite a bit and was occasionally mixing in some counters. I thought that was good work from Garcia. Round 8 comes along and Garcia starts well. He's timing Tank. He's just getting some shots off. Nothing too meaningful, but I'd say that it's going in his direction. There's a little bit of a ruckus in the crowd, so much so that a break is called in the action. And the round proceeds after the drama is over in the crowd, and the round proceeds, and Tank just begins really getting together and stringing together some offense, stinging Garcia with multiple power shots, and with one overhand left, he actually buckles Garcia's legs. He doesn't, it's not called a knockdown. I don't think his knee or his glove touched the canvas, but he certainly felt that one. To his credit, though, Garcia is able to survive and see out the round, only to quit on his stool going into the ninth round, claiming he couldn't see. That's what the translator was saying. So interesting, but yeah, wasn't a particularly entertaining fight, to be honest. As I said, it was fought at a very pedestrian pace. I don't think the greatest amount of skill or technique was on display, so it was a very kind of meh fight. The stoppage was meh as well, you know, very lukewarm at best. In terms of performances, I felt that this was a mixed performance by Tank Davis. But it wasn't really, not really surprising, I'll say. There were long stretches of laziness where Tank is just overly reactive. He's not really doing much to get a reaction from his opponent. A lot of the time, he will just stand there in front of him with a high guard, and we understand what he's trying to do. He's trying to bait that attack and counter from there. But better opponents are able to see that. They understand what you're doing, so they're not going to give it up just like that. They're going to use feints to get you to go first. They understand this kind of game, and it's just not the highest level, you know. And it's really frustrating, as I said, is the key word I really associate with Tank, is because he shows that he can do better in the same fight. As I said, when he started to employ that active guard and he was a bit more proactive, he was able to gain much more control of the fight. He was able to get closer to Garcia. He was able to line up more shots because he's moving around. He's using his eyes to see what he can open. He's feinting with it. Just giving different looks, just being more proactive. And so I see that, and I see that, okay, Tank knows what to do. I just don't understand why he doesn't do it more consistently. And I don't know, maybe there's some dynamics at play where he feels he's in with a guy who's a bit taller, has a bit more reach and a bit more range, and maybe he can't get away with it, and he wants to kind of scope things out to see what he's up against. I get that, but you know, this is up against the likes of Hector Luis Garcia, who is a competent fighter, as I said in the pre-fight video, but he's nothing special. He's not any kind of blue chip prospect in the division. This is his first fight at lightweight, and yeah, a competent fighter, but you know, just not great. I wouldn't say like a C or B level fighter maybe, but you know, Tank Davis is hopefully soon going to be going up against the guys who are A level, A star level, and I just feel like he needs a little bit more. In regards to Garcia, you know, just as I really predicted, he performed as expected, but just lasted a little bit longer. Showed some decent skill and competency, but not enough power and a leaky defense at times. You know, the hand placement is just, you know, his hands are up, but they need to be upper. They need to be a little bit higher, and they just need to be where they should be, you know, to defend him from the punches that he's likely to get hit by. Feel like there's just a bit of the defensive responsibility isn't where it should be, and even the finish was kind of underwhelming. And I understand some people are going to question Garcia quitting, because that's what he did. You know, there's not really any shame in it. He quit, but they're probably going to question, oh, did he really lose his vision in his right eye after taking that left hand? You know, only he knows, to be honest, but from first-hand experience and watching boxing a long time, strange things happen when you get hit upside the head, so I don't find it that strange, to be honest. Like, getting hit is not a pleasant experience, and it doesn't do good things for your brain and the inside of your coconut. So, you know, if he says you can't see, you can't see. So yeah, it is what it is. A lackluster fight in general, and a mixed performance from Tank Davis, but seemingly all roads lead to Ryan Garcia now. I hope that fight happens, because that will be, at least on paper, a real test for Tank. I expect Tank to win that fight. Obviously, should the fight go ahead, I'll do a video closer to it. But I'm slightly favouring Tank to win. However, he's going to be in with a guy who's got a massive size and reach advantage over him. And Garcia has showed promise, especially as a puncher with that left hook. So I think that's going to be a real shootout, that fight. And I think it's going to be a good one. So hopefully it happens. I just want to see whether Tank Davis is the kind of fighter who fights the level of his opposition, and therefore when he's up against those A and A star level guys, are we going to see the best of him then? Because there's a lot of potential with Tank Davis, but potential doesn't win you fights. Good performances, skill, technique, athleticism, marrying it all together, that's what wins fights. And I think Tank just needs to show a little bit more. But that is just my opinion. Let me know what you guys think. Have you seen this fight? Give me your take of it. Also, give me your take on my breakdown and review of this fight. Leave it in the comment sections below, and I'll get back to you. But for now, thanks for listening, and I'll catch you on the next video.